Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And tonight we are here on this very special occasion to recap the first three episodes of Season 4.
Yeah.
Isn't that fancy, Dragon?
Yes, it is. Yes.
All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and give you the floor here, my guy. What do you think of the? Of course, we'll break down all three of the episodes individually, but just overall, what do you think of this crop we got? What do you think of the initial crop?
Well, overall, they always like to dump rough. Usually it's in patterns of three, so they kind of keep the tradition going here. We got three episodes dropping, and it's always nice when the three episodes kind of really thematically tied together. And I think these three absolutely did that. I thought the storytelling was very strong on the three in particular that we start off this season with. I think it's a really good start to the season, so really good.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I definitely for me, episode two, I was a little bit like there's obviously some big stuff that goes down. That to me was kind of like, okay, I want to. Which is funny because I never thought I'd be like, okay, enough with the Nolan stuff. Like we don't want any more Nolan in my episode, and of course that's not what I'm saying. But I think overall, I don't know, Dragon. I did like it. I definitely thought we did get off on the right foot here. I would wager to say that I don't think these first three episodes are as hype worthy for me personally as the first crop of episodes from season three was. And you know me and comparing and contrasting and everything. Here's my issue, I think. Maybe, and this might just boil down to you being, you've read the comics. I haven't, so I really don't know what's coming. But to me, it feels like this whole season, basically, we're getting kind of like a chess piece season, just in the fact that it just looks like we're going to be really moving a lot of pieces into place for the final encounter. And I'm sure with a show like this, obviously, there's going to be surprises. There's going to be big twists and subversions. I have no doubt about that. But I don't know, just kind of like there's a lot going on, Dragons, basically what I'm trying to say. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to keep track of. It doesn't feel like the storyline is quite as cut and dry as it's been in some of the better season openers. But I mean, I don't know. I guess that might just be because we're really working towards an end game here. So, we have to get to a lot of stuff. But I'm just saying, like, we're following, like, this show is definitely the most rabid it's ever been as far as, subplots and things to keep track of. And because of that, even though it's all interesting, it's all good stuff, maybe not as potent as when we were focusing on, I don't know, I let's just get into it. Try again. I don't know if I'm really making sense. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I'm definitely not saying I didn't enjoy the episodes. I'm just for me, I'm kind of we'll see how it goes as far as I'm sure the season will be good.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess
Okay.
that brings us, yeah.
Yeah, so that brings us right into wow.
Yeah,
Okay, the
episode
first
one, making the world
first
a better
transition was
place.
a lot better.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, episode one, making the world a better place. So, yeah, I mean, first of all, just props to the song at the beginning. I don't even know. I know I looked up the band. I for the life of me can't remember what the band's called, but they definitely just set the mood really well. I know it's not Radiohead, but it's definitely got a Radiohead vibe to it for me. And I really kind of like, what it kind of reminded me of, Dragons. It kind of reminded me of how the the opening mic drop for Guardians Volume 3, the acoustic version of Radiohead's Creep kind of
Yeah.
set the tone for that movie. It kind of did the same thing here. It's kind of like, okay, like this has always been a dark show, but man, our characters are definitely like in some dark places in the season when we first start out with them. So I like that. I definitely like the opening montage. It really set things off on a really nice note.
So season two onward, there's kind of this recurring thing with the season premieres where we always open on the aftermath, which makes sense. It's what you would do after the big events of the prior season. So it's a logical place to start. So that's kind of the tradition of Invincible so far going forward. Mark is he's pulling double duty to do some damage control from Angstrom Levy's big plan last season, which really soured the world to Invincible. There's some distrust, there's some fear, and he's. I like that the media. Well, I've seen they're very transparent that these are Invincibles from another. They're making it very clear this has nothing to do with our guy, but still, this is pretty bad though, and he is wearing the face of our guy, and there are doubts and there are dispersions, and Powerplex is a little rant before Conquest show. It didn't help either. So he's trying to do some damage control there, and so overall, he's working. He's burned the midnight oil with Oliver as well. Oliver is making a very valid point. Oliver's not being selfish here. He's saying, "Look, I saved a lot of people today. We can't do this 24/7." Oliver's been very much in kind of the on-demand redemption kind of wagon, where we're doing good. We're doing out there. There is a little bit of that superiority there, but he's gotten in touch with his humanity, as we've seen with a little bit of the Debbie and Oliver scenes here, and he's become a well-rounded teenager at this point, given his rapid thrax and aging DNA.
Yeah, no, I was really impressed how just how natural the Oliver stuff was this episode. It really kind of came off like, obviously we're still in the same basic time period, but we're just getting a sense of like, okay, obviously like time's jumping ahead for this kid. We're still getting a sense of who he is though, and it was just good character development just in general for that.
So, a couple things I want to hit with season four overall, mainly the big themes of season four. Because so far, every season kind of has a theme. I mean, the overarching theme is son afraid to become his father, which is kind of in parallel to the Superman. The son becomes the father becomes the son kind of thing. Only in Kirkman's version of that, it's a lot more twisted from the starting place of the son becomes the father becomes the son. But seriously, though, I do like that fundamentally through the whole story of Invincible, there was an element of it's kind of a messier version of that Donner philosophy that maybe at some point father and son will find that happy medium, but it's a long, messy way, in a good way, messy in a good way, an interesting way of getting there. Where Mark at this point, he is fearing people are seeing him as like the new Omni Man, and ultimately that he is becoming his father. That is the fundamental fear of the Invincible character at his core.
Which is
And
interesting because basically the whole struggle with Mark last episode or last season, I mean, is he was just it was just kind of that, right? It was just kind of like that transition into it, and it's interesting that with this season, it's more so just about Mark kind of now coming to terms with basically the character development that he's gone on over the past season.
yes, I mean we're massaging it out with the whole chess piece season thing here. I mean, season four is, for all intents and purposes, it's pretty much. Now, mind you, again, like I'm like a broken record here. I'm gonna try and just get it out of the way once because it's the top of the season. Just in general with Invincible, I read through everything once so I could be surprised along the way, and that's kind of so I have a general idea of certain events that happen, kind of how they went in the comic versus how they go in the show, and Kirkman readapting his work and making some pretty cool changes. It helps keep the experience fresh. So there's a lot of great surprises around the corner. So I mean, broadly though, Kirkman has not said specifically how many seasons there are going to be. All we know is that Amazon's pretty pleased with Invincible, and we're getting more seasons. We're definitely getting a season five.
I don't know why, for some reason, I thought it was. You know what? I'm probably thinking of the boys.
Yeah, The
That
Boys
I
ends
thought
at
it was
season
announced
five.
that season 5 was going to be the end.
No, that's just The Boys. The Boys is
Mm,
definitely ending at five. But
my bad.
Invincible, though, that's the thing, though. Invincible does have an ending, though. You're not far off with that, though, T. We don't know how many seasons Invincible's ultimately going to get. All we know is like this season, we're adding a storyline that was not in the comics, but Kirkman always wanted to put into the comics. So there's a lot of room for growth and additions and stuff. So in theory, Kirkman could keep it going as long as he wants, so long as he does the ending at some point.
Uh-huh.
That said, I mean, it could end at five, could be seven, could be nine. I would say it'd be any of those three numbers. I mean, I doubt it's going so well. I doubt they're gonna end at five. But the point being, that we introduce a big player within these three episodes. At the end of the think it's the end of the second episode. We introduce Emperor
Yes,
Thrag.
yes,
Sorry.
yes.
So Emperor
Well, I
Thrag is like
assume this is going to be the big bad throughout the course of the rest of the show. I
that's
assume.
the thing. So Emperor Thrag essentially is kind of our Thanos. He is the
Uh huh.
big end all be. He is like the bad guy. He's the emperor. Let me put it this way: if Conquest is like Darth Vader, or I guess technically Omni Man started as Darth Vader, then we kind of the point being there are a lot of comparisons I can make. To me, Conquest is always like Bane, but if he's Bane, then this guy is essentially he's either the Emperor, he's the guy calling the shots. He's the Ra's al Ghul to his Bane. That guy is not someone you want to mess with. If Conquest answers to that guy, you know you're in trouble. So,
I
point
mean, we're
being,
kind of jumping ahead, but like,
yeah,
yeah, that was one of the big kind of takeaways that I had for this set of episodes was just, oh man, like that is a really good way to build up your main guy. Is because Conquest up to that point was by far the scariest motherfucker we had ever seen on
yes.
on the show, and then it's just like, oh, but he's nothing compared to this guy though. Like
Yeah.
that is a really good way to build it up.
So this season, I don't know how far we're going to get. I imagine we'll develop and introduce Thrag a little bit this season. By the end, I don't know if we're going to take a run at things by the end, but it
There
just
might
feels like
literally just be like a fine, I'll do it myself moment at the end of the
that's that.
season.
Honestly, I really think that's going to be it. We might have. This is where the whole like the one read comes in handy here because I know kind of where the end is, but I know we can't possibly be getting there yet. So I wonder if there were stumbling blocks like not stumbling blocks in terms of problems in telling the story, but I wonder if there were like a stumbling block that prevents the show from ending already that happens by the end of this season that maybe is
Uh-huh.
from the comic. But the point being, I'm sure we're gonna keep building up Thrag, and then that's so yeah. Anyway, so the theme for this season specifically, knowing it's not the end, but it's just kind of that we're setting up the pieces and everything. But that's the wonderful thing about the Invincible show that I really like is that each episode is very dense with material. We do a lot of stuff in like 40 minutes with this
Yep,
show. We
definitely.
really do. So the big overarching theme for the whole season that really goes through these three episodes is Mark asking the question, should we make the lethal call to save the world? Last season was the whole, the good guys, bad guys thing with him and Cecil. And this is kind of the next logical step here. Or okay, they've kind of sorted that out. Now Mark is kind of asking himself, at the end of last season, because of the Angstrom Levy stuff and just how much damage he made and having the whole conquest of it all, and how he holding back and everything and not pushing himself. Had I pushed myself, had I kind of dipped into the side of myself I don't want to do, I don't want to admit to myself is there. I could have prevented a lot of deaths from happening. Maybe I should make like not like a maniac, like my father, like using me as a battering ram, on a train, or
Is there
Conquest
like
doing
a
the
little bit
same.
of like a Michael Corleone kind of vibe going on here, just a bit, where it's like I don't want to be this guy, but I know I have to be this guy to protect my family. Does
I
that make
think
sense?
so. Yeah, I think that makes sense, and I don't think that's
Uh
far
huh.
off. I think that's again that's the whole the father to son thing, And so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but that's the thing. Fundamentally, it's like an admittance of your bloodline and kind of what's there. And episode two, which we're not there yet, but episode two really gets into the whole like the importance of the Viltrumite in Mark and what the whole Viltrum Empire was about, and like the humanity with all that kind of stuff. So a lot of that, like whole
Episode two,
bloodline,
you're
or
honestly
becomes
going to kind of have to hold my hand through, dude. Episode two was a lot of lore.
yeah. Well, again, so the point being for right now is just that it's the whole thing of like, do I, because of what Angstrom Levy did and everything, had I killed him in the first place when I actually thought I killed him, we could prevent a lot of trouble here. And at the end of last season, he was at the point where if anyone threatens my family, I won't hesitate to kill him. And that's what he's grappling with here is like, I kind of committed myself
Like
to that
colorblind
idea.
Kyle.
Yes, like colorblind Kyle for his family.
Sorry,
No, but
I
seriously
thought
though,
that was good. I took it.
seriously, it's an interesting idea that if my family gets threatened, he's grappling with the idea and the paranoia with that idea is like, when is the time to commit to that idea? Like when
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
have to, if you're going to commit to that, means you have a lot of power in your hands. You have to evaluate, is this guy a threat enough that I should kill him? It's like, what if Batman could make exceptions to the vow? And of course, ultimately, he doesn't make exceptions to the vow because of what Mark Grayson's
Because
going
it's a
through here.
slippery slope, and he goddamn knows it.
So that's what I really love this episode
Yeah.
specifically in the writing and everything, and we also kind of talk about in three. I love that this episode gets into like we always like everyone always teases Batman about the whole like, oh well, Batman can't kill people, Pshaw comics and like tradition. Like, no, this is the slippery slope thing he's talking about that we've never
Uh-huh.
ever seen before. Where if you had that ability and that choice, imagine like this is what Batman would be thinking right after he killed the Joker. This is like, oh God, like I'm gonna have to kill this guy. I don't want to kill this guy, but logically I should. Do I do it? And that's what he's grappling with.
Yeah, for sure.
So and I love just the how we bookend this dilemma in this episode alone. We have Dinosaurus, and then later on we have the Sequids. He has two positions, same identical framing. He's holding the guy by the neck, and he's kind of weighing the decision. So you shed some light on Dinosaurus, Mister Mitchell's versus the Machines kid. Tell us what you thought of this guy.
You know, is I hear a lot of hype about like dinosaurs in general going into the season, so I'm assuming this isn't like the main dinosaur related thing that people are hyped about.
Well, I mean, we kind of teased we teased the sentient dinosaurs
Uh-huh.
in at the end for the finale of season 2, and then we kind of paid him off here, and he's going to come back. I don't know if he's going to come back this season or down the line. That's what I can't recall. But
Well, what I will say, Dragon, what I will say is that I definitely think that the moment of, Mark choking him out and then like I honestly firmly believe that if it weren't for, the Guardians stepping in when they did, it genuinely seems like Mark would have just done it. Don't you get that vibe?
well, yeah, I mean, the vibe I get is like we're foreshadowing the danger of it's this lethal combat, well, potentially lethal combination of Mark's anger and his kind of Viltrum impulses, like the impulses of his father that is within him. That we have seen throughout the beginning of the show that when Mark gets angry, he gets really destructive, and that's just tapping into that Viltrumite DNA and what is kind of instinctively bred in everyone. It's the nature versus nurture thing.
Exactly.
It's the anger and the impulse that he naturally feels that usually he is suppressing, combined with the new mindset that is just again it's I sorry, forgive me. I keep falling in love with this kid every time I watch this show, and I love like the layers and the anxieties this kid goes through. It's the fact that it's he's asking himself, do I make the lethal call? And it's this poor kid is always second
Is
guessing
this is
himself.
this show just like basically like the ultimate like adulting is hard metaphor?
I mean, I guess probably. I
Like
mean,
this is
we
what it feels like, folks. This is adult responsibility.
But you see what I mean? I just love that we never. I mean, we always we do it Spider-Man at times. We've never really again. Invincible is ultimately that Spider-Man Superman kind of comparison, kind of combination for like what if you had this kid, kind of going through the coming of age tale, but with Superman's powers, and he's just really, he's got a terrible role model with his father, and he's got to work himself backwards from that. And I just love that, so that combination is what makes it really dangerous and unpredictable in the moment because there's ambiguity. They're like, Mark might have done that thinking it was for the right reasons, but then that becomes absolutely the slippery slope thing.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I definitely think it mirrors the end of the episode or the end of
Mm-hmm.
the Serapod thing because the Serapod thing is, and then even it's interesting because the Serapod thing is even more
Okay, do you mean the
shocking.
Sequids? Do you mean like the Starro looking guys?
Yes, Dragon. This is what I'm saying. There's way too much shit going on. I can't keep track of all these
Okay,
names.
to
I'm
be fair, the
sorry.
Sequids have been in
I'm
every
doing
season
the
up to
best
this
I
point.
can, Dragon. You know I'm not
No,
good
no,
at
no, Tiki,
names.
Tiki, Tiki. You got to say the
Oh
catchphrase
God.
that Jacob and I invented for the show.
Okay.
Well, the running gag we didn't invent it was in the show. We just make fun of it. Tiki, it's not that simple.
I mean, yeah.
That's the line.
Okay, but no, it's like so that was the end of episode 1. Definitely, another level. Then
Mm-hmm.
what I love is that when we get to like the end of episode 3 with the Titan of it all, and that is really just Mark going out of line basically for no reason. Like Mark doesn't know anything about the situation. He's had decent, at least, you know, like at least civil run-ins with Titan before, right? Like he knows this guy isn't inherently evil, and yet it still gets to that point. So it's like we're really battling with like it's interesting that, like I said, I think season 3 really built up kind of like Mark turning into his father, and now season 4 is kind of Mark grappling with that now that it's actually happened.
I mean, it's kind of this really great payoff from season 3 to season 4. Season 3 was all about Mark having a lot of trouble admitting to the gray, and now he's living in the gray, like he's dealing with the
Yeah,
gray
yeah.
firsthand. So that's he drew a very firm line with Cecil about the black and white, and there's no room for gray. And now he's dealing with all sorts of gray.
Mm-hmm.
So a few things to hit to. Britt continue to be played by the wonderful Jonathan
Oh
Banks.
man, I mean, obviously with Jonathan Banks, this guy's going to be an MVP. But just like I love his role within it. It's a perfect Jonathan Banks role within this show. Just like the seasoned veteran, like kind of like you kids don't know the half of the shit I've been through, like that kind of energy. It's great. I love it.
He had a great Captain America moment, frankly, when it was like he basically jumped out of the back. You're gonna. You save as many people as you can, and you get.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. That is totally a Cap moment. Yeah.
Destabilize the Sequids and teleport them. And that whole thing. Find the save people, find the antenna, stop the Sequids. That kind of thing.
Totally. Yeah.
So point, he was, he's great. But what's great? So here's the thing: Britt's not just throwing there because Jonathan Banks is cool. Britt's throwing in there because we're exploring again. This is thematically with the whole, should we make the lethal call or not thing. So Britt is kind of mixing things up a little bit with robots. We've put Robot and everyone back on the Guardians team. They're giving Cecil a second chance, and the whole thing of Robot wants to be leader because he's trying to adopt a proactive form of leadership. Well, so not a preventative form of leadership. And Britt's form of leadership is he's like a first responder. He's very much like task at hand, save the people.
Right.
It's the the firefighter versus the futurist here. It's like the firefighter. The problem has happened. We are responding to I guess
still definitely it's still definitely more chill than the immortal though.
Absolutely. No, for sure. Other than Britt's an excellent lead. I want to be very clear about that. I'm just saying that I like, again, Robot, his arc between this and episode 3 is that, he's subscribing to what Invincible's kind of trying to adopt himself here, the whole preventative measures thing. And that's kind of where the conflict is.
Sure.
Okay, so here's something I got to tell about it. I don't know how much you're going to get out of this, and I'm just going to throw it out to you here, because this was a big, from what I remember from the comic, and this is like one of the most infamous scenes in all of the comic that is in this episode. Really? Yes, and I think I teased you a little. I teased this a little bit at the end of last season, and I was wondering if we were going to get it this season, and we did. The big infamous scene between Mark and Eve's dad.
Oh, really? No, Dragon, I really like that scene.
Yes.
So for me, I like it just because it feels like a culmination. I mean, honestly, it's interesting because like what I really like about Eve's parents just in this universe is that they are some of the coldest motherfuckers in the whole universe, and yet they're just domesticated like people. It's very, very similar energy to Jesse Pinkman's parents. You know what I mean? Yeah. Very similar energy. So no, honestly, Dragon, that was one of my favorite scenes throughout all 3 of the episodes. Like coming in as someone who has no context of like what makes the scene from the comic so bad.
Well, that's the thing. So I think I think Kirkman did a really good rewrite. He was probably back into the corner and said, okay, there's no way basically, if I adapt the scene from the comic, her father will be a complete, abhorrent, irredeemable monster. I can't do that.
Okay.
So basically, I guess long story short, so this was smartly reworked. Again, the benefit of having Kirkman adapting his own work here. He's kind of fixing things.
And he was doing the same stuff on The Walking Dead back when The Walking Dead was good. He'd be making smart adaptation changes like this.
Yeah. So in the book, this scene is basically the same thing. He goes out with the cigars. He offers Mark a cigar, and he's basically talking with them. So in the comic, to put it cleanly, so he was talking to Mark and basically thanking him. Basically, he was berating Eve by thanking him for taking a chance on her and putting her down, and in the most twisted, icky way possible, saying, I'm thanks for looking past my daughter's faults because basically for her not being a virgin.
Oh, yikes.
It was, and the way it's framed too is like intentionally creepy and everything. Oh God, it's like it was again, like I said, one of the 2 most infamous scenes in all of Invincible in the comics. One of the big
No,
ones.
I mean honestly, I give Kirkman full credit then because I think what he did is he just totally rewrote it and he struck gold. I because this is a long time coming too, Dragon. I mean, it's like we talk about, everyone's like so, we're all very excited about the inevitable reunion between Mark and Omni-Man, between Mark and Nolan. But what I like about this scene is it almost is a little bit of like a taste of what that might be like as far as tension. You know what I mean? Just Mark having to confront a father figure who's kind of been a thorn in his side for a long time. Whereas with this guy, it's been a thorn in the side, like from afar for a long time. But like we know how messed up this guy is. Like this guy takes the cake is like genuinely like one of the worst cartoon dads of all time. It's like so. I don't know. I do feel like there's some level of like really interesting kind of duality between Mark having this sort of like domestic confrontation and then what we're ultimately going to get with Nolan.
See, what I really loved in terms of the readaptation of just the adaptation of Adam Wilkins in this show with Eve's dad, and just again, I kind of had a feeling that we weren't going to do that scene verbatim, aside from the fact it was infamous, just for the fact of the way we've been doing Adam up to this point, and what I really loved about how we've been adapting him versus just the full on. He's a lot worse in the comic.
He's a bad father, but he's an
yeah.
understandable guy. Like
Yeah.
he's a realistic guy, if that makes
That's
sense.
the thing. We have that here, which we did not have in the book, especially in that dinner scene. But the point being, here, you're right though. It's that Adam and the vibe that I begin, especially in the Adam Eve special, if you remember that, the whole like the Eve special that we had.
Yes.
Adam, he does love his daughter, and he's kind of making an effort, but he keeps screwing it up, and he's blustery. He's like, he's a jerk, but he does mean well, and I think that and Fred Tatasciore being the actor you have doing that, I think he really brings that to the forefront. This guy, he's all out. He's a working man who's probably could treat his wife and his family a little nicer, but he's not, not. Obviously, he's no Archie Bunker, but in terms of Archie Bunker being wonderfully lovable despite his bigotry. But it's kind of the same principle, just the idea of you have a character who, again, he's not truly evil, and he means well, but he's going about it in a very mean way. And what's great about this scene and how we've adapted is he's not just berating his daughter. He's kind of it's the father and the new boyfriend conflict, but in a way that it's not just him punching down per se. Adam has a point, but it's like a really mean point where he's initially him blaming Mark for him losing his job. But you think about this, initially, Adam was using that as an excuse to berate and hold it against his daughter for having powers. Now, he didn't know Mark. He didn't know like who he was or anything. He was just saying, well, I lost my job because of superheroes. My daughter is a superhero, so I'm going to punch down on my daughter with with words. And again, here he's like, he's kind of moved past it with her. It's like, oh yes, you, and he's just doing the smile on his face, like because of that thing that happens. Well, wasn't my fault. Be that as it may. And they have this conversation. He's basically making a point that Eve he's saying all the right things just to make Mark feel like crap, not necessarily are incorrect, but just all the worst first impression you could possibly make while just trying to. It's like the only way this guy can hurt somebody who's invulnerable. He's like one of those guys.
Right.
And he has a point. It's like he's needling all the sensitive spots on Mark here. Of like Eve almost died twice and that's never happened before until she was around you. And again, he's thinking this is a pep talk of some. That's what I love about it. He thinks this is like a pep talk or a good and this is where we stand kind of thing.
I don't know. I think he's very much like just wanting to put the fear of God into Mark, if anything else.
No, but that's the thing though. He wants to find an excuse to. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, not a pep talk, but I'm saying he's putting like this is a good talk.
Kind of opposite of a pep talk.
Yeah, not a pep. Well, I mean, he's putting. It's not an actual pep talk, but he's putting like a smile, like "Good, I'm glad we had this chat." Kind of.
The tone, right.
The tone
very
is like
passive aggressive pep talk in air
Exactly.
quotes.
So in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
sense, yeah, it's like, well, I'm glad we're on the
Uh-huh.
same page. You know, you just think food for thought. You endanger my daughter's life. Ha ha ha.
Right, right, right.
And then on the flip side, we have her mother, and her mother goes, Great Lyle's wonderful. Uh, her
Oh
mother is
God, man! I mean, she's such a veteran voice actress talent, like a legend in the industry, and like seriously, this might be some of her best work that I've seen her do in a long time. Just this scene in particular, man.
yeah. Yeah, like basically the mother kind of basically saying like Eve, things are nice now, but ultimately this is probably you settling, which basically that's she's basically talking about her own life through Eve right now. Is he seems good, but basically I thought your father was, good. Ultimately, basically she settled for her father,
Mhm.
you know?
I mean, what I like about that performance in that moment is it says a lot with a little.
I know it does. I mean, there's like a wealth of like, there's again, I always love that Eve's mother really is she's trying to keep the family together. You always felt that she is a nice lady. Clearly, she's always like kind of
She's
kowtowing to
definitely
Adam.
a
And
lot more layered and a lot more nuanced than Adam is for sure. I still would put her kind of in bad parent category, but not quite as aggressive about it as Adam is. But she is a little bit more passive aggressive
well,
about it.
that's
If
the thing. It's
you know,
passive aggressive in the scene, but in general, it's like very passive with her parenting style in terms of she's always been like, just kind of going with whatever Adam says and not putting up a fight or, putting the phone.
exactly, yeah.
Like you get the idea. The cycle is, Adam says something mean to Eve, she cries, and then the mother is like, "Oh, come on, Adam, soften up a little bit." And he says, "Oh, all right," kind of.
Basically, yes.
All right, let's see. So, long story short, we have battle with Universa, who we kind of just throw in there, and Universa is basically yet another Walking Dead
I mean,
alumni.
that's what I'm
Danny,
saying, Drag. We throw a lot of shit, man. And it's like I get it. I get like basically what we're coming. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but like the vibe we're getting is that like Invincible is dealing with all this shit. He's dealing with the whole like, oh my god, am I becoming another Omni Man? At the same time, he's literally being hit from all angles, and he's basically like essentially being forced into that kind of kind of position.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, sometimes Tiki they just have like the universe of characters and have to pad it out somehow. We're okay. We need an action set piece. Here's Universa. We'll breadcrumb. Maybe later. I can't remember if we do anything with Universa later on. Maybe we do. So there she is.
All right.
Basically, Universe is like the Danny Guerrero character. Again, it's like another Walking Dead alumni.
Uh-huh.
So the point being, the story point is that Eve is realizing her powers are on the fritz, which we set up at the tail end of last season, which we're seeing now. And again, for the story point, Eve cannot help with the Sequids, which of course puts Mark in the position that he is in, which is a really good storytelling. Where, oh god, we don't. Eve was like the kryptonite for the Sequids, and we can't use her.
Right, right, right.
So all the Sequid chaos. I love the teleporter darts. I love the whole like the little gadgetry that Tiki. I love wrist mounted gadgetry so
I know
much.
you do, buddy.
I really do. I was like, oh man, completely forgot about this. Also, the shooting like teleport. I've never seen teleporter darts. That's so cool. Anyway, so ultimately, very tense sequence that establishes that not one Sequid can get away. I love that. I love everything in the stage. They have like the tension. All the pressure is on. Mark is in a pressure cooker, which is what we've tried to capture in this image here, where we have the dome. It's like the dome's about to burst if the Sequids like get it's like 4%. Bulletproof is like rushing on his way to bring the thing so we can get Rudy free of the Sequid so we can stop him non-lethally. But again, like time is running out, and Mark has to make a split second decision here. Like, oh god, like I don't know if Bulletproof's going to get here in time. This is an innocent man, but it's again the planet's going to be in the crapper if I don't do this.
Mhm.
So it's just a great payoff to the whole, the full circle. Like we had Dinosaurus, and we set up Dinosaurus. Here's like, he almost went that far, and then end of the episode, went that far. Credits, like that's awesome.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, then remind me what the post credits was for this episode.
Post credit was nice and simple and pretty awesome. Conquest alive. He's reconstituted himself. And he escapes. The boy left me alive. And he flies into space, and Cecil's like, "Oh crap!"
Okay, what I love about that is that, like, I obviously when we see him at the end of last season, you're just like, what the fuck are you doing, Cecil? Like,
Yeah,
that one thing might be the stupidest thing that Cecil has ever done on the whole
yeah.
show, just keeping continuity
Admittedly,
alive.
that's a thing they had. That's an important thing from. They cannot not include that from in the show.
No, I get it. But it's just one of those where it's like now, like, I'm surprised that we paid that off so soon though. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, like shit, we're really cooking now.
Yeah, I forgot that we did it that soon as well. Maybe honestly, there was a chance he moved it up from where it probably was in the books too,
Uh-huh.
because he's done that. Because with the whole Omni Man killing the Guardians of the Globe, that happened in episode 1. The comic took like 7 issues.
All right. So
All right.
good opening episode. That brings us into
Episode 2. I'll give you the grand tour.
that was a lot better than the last one.
Yeah.
So, Dragon, this is all you, buddy. This is a fucking lore episode if I've ever seen one, my friend. And I want to make it clear, like, all of this, like, of course, it's like seeing Nolan's history and like him being abused by his parents and basically the wiping out of the Viltrumite Empire and the plague and all that stuff. Really, really dense, interesting stuff. Don't get me wrong; it's really cool stuff. But like, there's a lot of detail here, Dragon. So I really do need you to take the lead here.
Okay, so one, I really love this episode, and this is with the way they did these episodes. I love structurally how we break up episodes 1 and 3 with this, in that it parallels, again, with the whole son becomes the father thing, is like, Mark is going through a change, and we're kind of reflecting that here in Nolan's arc of like he's really starting to come to grips with how bad his people were, and he's kind of rebelling against his people here and going against the thing that was drilled into him at a young age. So again, it's just the intersection in Mark and Nolan's arc is kind of what's represented here in what we're doing and why we're timing it between episode 1 and 3 when Mark has made a very big Omni-Man-esque decision. And now we're seeing where Omni-Man fits in all this, and I think it was like a good separation so we can kind of unpack what happened with Mark, and then we're getting like, yes, we're getting lore, more so the chess piece stuff. We're setting the board for the big battles that'll come later. We're arming
This episode is essentially literally like assembling the chess pieces, if you will.
Yeah, but again, it's assembling the chess pieces, but we have Nolan's kind of character arc kind of fleshing that out, though. So it's not just like assembling the chess pieces,
Well, like I said, I mean, let's start where like the big stuff, like the flashback, like that's a big thing in its own right. Just seeing all that go down, and I think they did it really well. I don't really have any notes. It's just a pretty pivotal piece of the backstory that we needed to see, and we got.
Did you realize who? Well, I know I didn't realize it myself yet. I wonder if you put the pieces together. Who with the X-ray thing that comes up. Did you see who voices young Omni-Man?
No, I know. I was wondering.
Talon Warburton.
Talon, is that Patrick's son?
Yes.
Really? Patrick Warburton's son.
So Patrick Warburton, I don't know if you've ever seen this. You can look it up on YouTube. It's really cool.
His biological son?
Yes, Tiki, his biological.
Are you saying that Patrick Warburton is his biological father?
Yes, his biological father. Okay, so you can find us on YouTube. I think they did it for. I don't know if they just did it for the Emperor's New Groove or just for Patrick Warburton, but essentially, Patrick Warburton has 3 sons who all pretty much sound like him, and they do Kronk impressions, and they do impressions of their father. So there's like this whole thing where they're doing like Kronk impressions. It's really funny.
It's like a sitcom. It's just like My 3 Kronks.
Yeah. Regardless, Talon Warburton, I thought he did a great job as like the younger Nolan. So to me, Nolan's backstory, best element of the episode, seeing the young Nolan with his family and how the Viltrum Empire, was when it was thriving. We see it before and after, like before the virus. And
it really is kind of like this twisted version of Krypton, where it's like, just this kind of gladiatorial, like only the strongest survive, survival of the fittest sort of thing. I genuinely thought one of really quick. I'm sorry. A really cool detail was just that alien slave, like he gets tired for like just a minute and he's dead. Like I thought that was a really, really effective detail to show right off the bat, show just how serious these people are with productivity.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the whole strength being the ultimate decider on Viltrum. It always read to me as it's kind of Krypton mixed with Planet Vegeta and just the Saiyan race from Dragon Ball Z. It was always kind of what Viltrum kind of felt like to me, and the Viltrumite kind of mentality. So, we see Nolan as like the hero to the next generation of Viltrumites, which we kind of had a line about in the previous season. So you kind of see that, and the idea, and this is a really heady, trippy thing where the idea of graduating to adulthood means you have to engage in a brutal battle with your own parents, which of course parallels the end of season 1, which kind of gives that some new context of, oh my god, this is kind of Omni-Man didn't want to put his son through his paces like this, but he kind of had to. And again, it was all. But I love that Nolan here, he's brutalized by his parents, but to him, this is kind of love. This is a loving encounter with his parents in a weird way.
Oh yeah, totally. Like there's, when the parents die later in the episode, it's not like now I'm finally free of my abusers. No, it's like there's genuine pathos there.
I love the little detail though. The mother was extra brutal, and the fact that his father said that's enough, and that was the closest. Like that was a little thing. I mean, it's just genuine humanity, but to Nolan, that was like a warm hug from your father on his deathbed kind of a moment. That was like,
Right. Yeah.
It's like a little gesture, but that meant everything to him.
And I feel like it really goes to speak to like Nolan's just brief flashes of humanity. And we'll get a few really good ones this episode, especially with Alan.
Oh yeah. So we established the Scourge virus. The Scourge virus is this. It's so trippy. I love that Alan gives voice to this. That, oh my god, I felt sympathy for the Viltrumites after all the terrible things that they've done. You see billions of dead Viltrumites forming like a ring of Saturn, but it's a ring of death around the planet.
Genuinely like religious imagery in the most apocalyptic sense of the word.
It's like the only way you could ever feel sympathy for because the whole thing is like there's only 50 Viltrumites left. And initially I always thought they diminished numbers was because they basically battled their own race until only the 50 strongest warriors in the cosmos survived. But it is kind of that, but it's that combined with, that virus took them all out, took everyone else out. And only the ones who were strong enough to survive the virus and survive each other. It's just the fact it's just a pride-driven race, Anyway, this culture that celebrates strength above all else, and you're right. Though, so the moment of Nolan throwing his father's body into space, and that moment right there, in a wordless just little blink and you miss it moment. That's why he didn't kill Mark in season 1. You feel it, just you connect the dots. That's great storytelling. I love it.
Definitely.
So, Alan.
All right. Yeah.
I mean, do you have anything on Alan you wanted to throw in?
I mean, I did not I think he's still just filling his role really well. I don't know.
Yeah. So I'm going to say this. So a fear I had going into this season, not a big fear, but it was a thing that last season kind of gave me hope for, but this episode kind of put any fears aside from them. It looks like we condensed the recruitment and all like the chessboard stuff and the space stuff to one episode. In the comic, from what I recalled, we broke up a lot of like Earth, space, Earth, space, Earth, space. And here we've just kind of like done one episode in space to pretty much, get all out of the way, which I think was a really good call for the storytelling. I think it makes it a lot more palatable.
What I do like about Alan as a character is just I mean, I'm not really saying anything new here, is just his ability to bring out Nolan's humanity.
Yeah. We have some really funny moments too, where they're going like space. I love Space Racer. Of all the recruits that they did, Space Racer was always this cool little visual that we had like last season when we briefly glimpsed like Nolan's story or whatever. Like the books that he wrote, they were like clues on how to defeat the Viltrumites. Space Racer himself, just the idea that Nolan buried this man alive and he apologized and it actually worked. And Alan was like his wingman for the apology. I just love that.
Yeah, just how big that moment is. Like you can genuinely feel kind of like the the pathos and the actual character growth on Nolan for that forgiveness. It is a big. I like how quiet of a moment it is, but it reflects a lot of the actual character development. And all the best thing about all this character development, Dragon, is that Mark is not fucking seen any of it. Mark has no idea about any of it.
No.
And that's just going to be so juicy when it's I'm sure that the whole season, for the most part, unless the pacing picks up way faster than I think it's going to, like once we get to that episode, that's like the payoff of the whole season. I think is just that kind of like that big, because I like how we have like we got the reunion a couple seasons ago, right? Like,
yeah,
when was that? Was season 2, right? When he was on the alien planet with Nolan. Yeah. So Nolan has been through like obviously a lot since then, and Mark and Nolan weren't exactly on great terms when they left that time. So it's going to be really interesting.
As far as Mark knows, his father was slated for death, and that's all he knows. His father may or may not be dead. That's all he knows. So, let's see. But you're right, though. All this growth is happening. So again, we're building to whenever we do it. I don't know if it's going to be episode 4 or 5 or whenever this season, but at some point, Nolan's going to be coming back to Earth, and there's going to be all this. Mark's going to not really know what to trust with this guy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but I like how the audience have more information than Mark does, which is
great.
That's not usually the case. Like that's going to be kind of like an interesting experience, especially when it comes to information about Nolan in particular.
Yeah. I get, but with what you're saying too, again, I love how J.K. Simmons. He's never been a slouch in this show. My God, he just keeps getting better with like the development on him and the subtleties, like the idea that
season 1, the great thing about J.K. Simmons' voice acting was the chilling factor, and now the great thing is the humanity. It's just like we're getting kind of like the whole the whole load, the whole spectrum of emotion from this guy.
Yeah, like Nolan is at a point that this episode is a really good arc for Nolan in that Nolan is like, okay, look, Alan, I'm kind of friends with Alan, so as a tribute to him and just kind of like so spare my sons from getting involved in this war, I will give you guys the tools you need to stop the Viltrum Empire, but I can't turn on my people like that. And he's kind of coming to grips throughout this little scavenger hunt through the cosmos here, and the recruitment is like, we really hurt a lot of people, and ever since season 1, it's like I've kind of seen the error of my ways, and that I didn't like how that felt, and kind of realizing we blocked out the sun on this planet. There's not really human like kind of sentient life on this planet, but not sentient, not like civilized people on this planet. But the other 2 planets that got killed off because we messed with the sun, they didn't do anything to us, and we just killed them off, and he feels really bad about that. I love that. So speaking of which, the Ragnars. This was really it's kind of a background cool detail thing. We kind of see like a brief glimpse of when he kind of summarizes like these guys are kind of a Viltrumite kryptonite, and that one they kind of it's like the Dragon Ball Z gravity training thing where these guys have an enhanced like a very strong gravity pull on the planet, so that's why they're so darn strong. And when the Viltrumites basically got like a big shot against their immunity with the Scourge virus, they're kind of my headcanon, as far as I can tell, just watching this again, I only haven't read the comic for the one time, is that these guys removed Conquest's arm and it didn't grow back. Like we saw, like these Ragnars, like they took down Conquest essentially. Like they took a chunk out of the man. The man is lacking an arm because of these things. I suspect
you're talking about the dinosaur type creatures in the ice, right?
That's right. These are the Ragnars.
Just making sure, because like I said, a lot of names, a lot of different things. Okay, just making sure I'm following.
Oh yeah, right. Ragnars are like the things with like like the red dinosaur-esque.
Yeah. Okay.
Point being, these things like removed Conquest's arm, and my theory based on that is that the Scourge virus. Because remember, Nolan got infected by it too, but he survived. Only 50 people survived this thing. They all got infected by it. But I think what this means is that...
Which, by the way, that's very similar to the way the Walking Dead virus worked, because in the Walking Dead universe, everyone who's still alive is infected with the virus. Like, that's a big part of the lore. Anyways.
Okay. Yeah, I think... Remind me, Invincible came before the Walking Dead, didn't it?
I believe Invincible came after The Walking Dead because The Walking Dead was a very like long term thing. It started in like the 90s, I think.
Oh, if it started in the 90s, you're right. Yeah, it came way before.
Yeah. If not the 90s, like the very early
Well,
2000s.
that's what I'm saying. Invincible's like maybe 2002 or 2004. So that's
Well,
why.
let me. I mean, if you really want to be sure, like, can just do a quick Google search.
Okay.
I'm fairly sure that The Walking Dead came first, but let me make sure.
Okay. Anyway,
Dead.
so my headcanon, my theories at this point in time is that the Viltrumites, they can heal from any
Oh,
injury.
it debuted in
However,
2003, so maybe Invincible did come first. Hold on, sorry.
yeah. I have a feeling Invincible came first. If The Walking Dead was in 03, I have a feeling Invincible predated. Invincible might have been 2001 or maybe 2002.
I think you're right. Let me just
Educate yourself.
date here. Educate yourself. This is what the internet is for.
Go to the Viewmaster.
2003. It was 2003. So really, they were he was probably working on both at the same time. Honestly.
All right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so point being, based on I think Viltrumites can heal from pretty much anything given time, but I don't think they can regrow limbs like they may have been able to do in the past. That is my guess. I think pre-Scourge virus, maybe they could regrow limbs and everything, but I'm just, yeah. That's what I think. Because I mean, I was thinking for a moment, Conquest still had his whole body, just he had no face, but he could regrow the face. Like he couldn't regrow his head, but he could regrow his face. You know?
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. So I think Conquest missing a limb, like that limb's never going to grow back because of the Scourge virus. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anyway, so we should talk about the comedy. This is the thing. It's a great running gag in the comic, but I like that we just kind of made it a running gag in the episode versus just like dragging out the whole search through space thing. Is that
the couch
Alan
gag, and I'm not talking about The Simpsons.
Yeah. So this was a hilarious. Everyone knew this was coming in some way, shape, or form. Rim shot somewhere in there, but just I love the. It was a gag. Everyone was like the whole Nolan on the couch, like holding the pill, like, oh god, when will it stop? But just Alan and Talia, him and his girlfriend just going at it, and just Nolan being on the couch and just being a thing where it's just constantly, he can't get a break from it. And then I don't know if they added this for the show or not. This is hilarious. Just him like realizing he hates the captain of the ship, which is basically a Star Trek parody, by the way. He just
no. Oh my god, you blew my mind with that. Oh my god, I never would have guessed.
See, I have to spell that out for you, though. That's the thing.
You really didn't have to spell that out for me. I mean, you have to spell out pretty much everything else, but that one I got.
Good. He understood that reference.
One of your favorite quotes from the MCU, Dragon. I understood that reference.
Yes, he did. Like a big boy. Look at Tinky's understanding references. Look at him go.
Oh my god! Wow.
Anyway, yeah. So he hates the captain of this ship for so many reasons. But I love that Nolan hates him because the whole time there are other rooms.
Right. Yeah.
Just love that. And then later he almost gets him killed.
Sometimes the breaking point with people is like the most petty grievance, honestly.
Yeah. So that was great. Okay, so Thetis. So we reveal Thetis created the Scourge virus, which really upsets Nolan. Like he killed his father, he killed all his people. He's very upset with Thetis, and revealing that Thetis is he's guilty over what basically again, this is where the gray comes into it. He basically gave the Viltrumites a taste of their own medicine. He didn't expect it to infect like billions in the population, but he thought it was like a little learn from your lessons here instead of like, oh god, I've pretty much I've almost created a chemical genocide on my own planet. That's kind of bad. But yeah, I mean, again, there's an argument to be made, and this is kind of what Mark's grappling with, and I love the parallels here. Mark is like, that's a calculated move that prevents a lot of evil potentially, given what the Viltrumites are doing and how they're conquering the galaxy. Like Nolan was like convinced, like we are helping people that we take over, we're giving them our resources and everything, but ultimately serving the Viltrum Empire not a great way to live.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
Yep. So he swears to use it as a last resort because he's created a new scourge virus, and because of all this, Nolan is going back to Earth to because he needs to see his sons, and that's going to, of course, be a whole thing when he returns to Earth. The Alan hug was adorable earlier in the episode where Alan hugs him. See, I know earlier you punched my head off for this, but it's like I still might. And we already
No,
mentioned
that old line. That was a great bit of character development, man. Really good piece of character development there.
I love Talea just saying, "Oh, Alan has a friend. Isn't that cute?" Just kind of
right.
All right, so the post credit we already kind of talked about Conquest. He takes his lumps. He goes home. He's ready. Like, please, just kill me in the most public way you see fit, just so no one else fails like I did. And Emperor Throg, he shows up and says, "Oh no, you're not done yet."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you noticed who Emperor Throg looks like, right?
Freddie Mercury, right?
Bingo. Yes. Do you know who voices?
I've known that a Freddie Mercury Viltrumite is coming, like, basically since the beginning of the show. I've known that.
Well, I know, but this is your big moment. You finally got him, Tiki.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's cool. Don't get me wrong. It's great. It is quite impressive. I'm excited for it.
Do you know who the voice of Emperor Throg is?
Oh, that you're going to have to remind me.
Lee Pace.
Lee Pace. Okay. Got it.
Okay.
Nice. All right.
Next
that brings us to the final episode of this evening. We're talking I'm sorry. I thought we were going to introduce the episode. Episode 3. There.
It delays when the effect goes off. I was about to say it.
Okay. All right. So just really big episode in the on the Mark side of things. And like I said, Dragon, I think one of the big things with this episode is kind of what I was saying, where in the midst of Mark kind of grappling with with being the killer that he doesn't want to be, but he's kind of seen as almost an inevitability. It's an inevitability. He's kind of seen as an inevitability that he would have to. Shit's just going down from all angles. I mean, this poor kid just cannot catch a damn break for the life of him. And I don't know. It's a really good kind of like series of circumstances just to test him out here.
Oh, for sure. So I love that Cecil and Mark, they have this. It's a much more civil discussion than they had last season. Less less dead corpses, less reanimated dead corpses around this time. But yeah, so I love they've learned. They've grown. They've learned from their mistakes, but of course without really changing who they are fundamentally. At least not yet. Like Cecil, they're very much like still set in their ways and on their paths. They're not like kind of like kowtowing to the other one here. Like, for example, Cecil, I get the sense, and this is the wonderful ambiguity of Cecil here, I get the sense Cecil genuinely wants to help by offering him, like, look, with me in your ear, I can be the guy to tell you when to make the life or death calls here.
Right. Like Cecil is basically offering Mark therapy by all intents and purposes, like a really militaristic sense of therapy.
Yeah, like he's trying to help him via compartmentalization, which is kind of what his whole thing has been about, with the secrets and everything.
Mm-hmm. All right. Hello, you there?
Do that. And the reason I called the shots and everything is so, yeah. Okay, Tiki, you there?
Hello? Yeah, you cut out for just a little bit. You're back. You cut out for just a little bit.
All right. So what I was saying is that's the thing with Cecil. That Cecil, the compartmentalization tactic that he has used is basically a way of kind of helping his guys sleep better at night. And that's kind of what he's offering Mark here, because he knows, like, look, Mark, you've been through a trauma, which is understandable. And, again, if that's, I should live with that trauma, not you guys. And again, I think he really is genuinely trying to help. But knowing Cecil, the angle,
He's
the
trying to
advantage.
help, but at the same time, he knows that Mark is a situation he needs to get under control. I mean, there like this is a man who is always working, like so. Even when he's being genuine, he's still like got ulterior motives. Like he's not doing this for nothing,
That is always the thing. Cecil is probably one of the best characters in the show and in the comic. As Cecil's a great character. It's the fact that he's fascinating like that, but he is. I love that from the beginning he knew that Mark wasn't just blindly like his father. He knew that this kid is he's in a very difficult situation and he is trying to like he knows about the gray in the situation, but he still has to play it the way he has to play it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like he knows like Mark. I know that you're not trying to do this, but this is what the situation is.
Exactly. Yeah. And just Walton Goggins for the win, man. Just seriously.
Oh, he's always been like top of his game on this. So just like Mark again, he's kind of calling Mark out, but again, gently, more gently than he did before. Here is that Mark is. It's not so much that Mark is going to snap at any moment, but he knows at the very least he's losing his temper and he's potentially creating. He's going to be creating messes. Like he knows he's not Nolan, but he also knows the kid's been through a lot, and for any person, period, this is a lot
Right.
that drive him to making reckless choices or being having like again PTSD or something. Which the last thing you want is like Superman with PTSD flying around. And then, just to make things worse, D.A. Sinclair enters the room.
Yep. Just like, oh man, Dragon. This was like, okay. It's like I've been singing the praises of Tim Robinson. I think you should leave. Like really good, basically social anxiety sketch humor. This D.A. Sinclair moment would fit right at home on I think you should leave, Dragon. I'm just like, what are you doing? Get out of there, bro. Not the time. Not the time.
And again, and this is the fascinating thing between D.A. Sinclair and the whole Cecil's argument here, where again, Cecil's trying to practice the transparency here, and which is the whole problem was last season. Cecil wasn't offering full transparency despite saying I had nothing to hide. But one, he's hiding the conquest thing. So Mark is right, still not to trust Cecil. Cecil, he screwed the pooch majorly with conquest, which Mark doesn't even know about yet. The other thing he doesn't know about is D.A. Sinclair with his Reanimen, which I like that Cecil is making a genuine attempt to sell Mark on the idea of the Reanimen. Like, again, this is a military breakthrough, and they have been very helpful. They saved a lot of people. Of course, what he's neglecting to mention is, oh yeah, we've used the corpses of your most recent trauma with all the Invincibles from the other universes. Yep. We're going to use them as the new again, terrible idea, but I mean, again, it's a useful idea, but it's such it's the conflict there that with Cecil is that, oh god, D.A. Sinclair, a guy who I hate for ruining people's lives, and that he's not like in a crappy prison, he's living it up on the Capitol Hill's dime. But again, D.A. Sinclair, I felt he was sincere in his apology. I feel he does. I think he is trying to change.
Sincere. It was just a terrible time.
Yeah, absolutely terrible
timing, bro.
And again, like Cecil is, he's kind of calling out, like, Mark, we both know you hate that guy, and you definitely thought about killing him. You didn't do it, but you still thought about it.
Right.
Which again, Cecil has a point.
It's a pretty good dig that Cecil gives there, though.
Yeah, and again, I like that Cecil knows, like, okay, he's probably not going to do it, but still, he's thinking about it, and that's why you don't want. And we have that gag with Donald when Donald walks in. Did you tell him about Conquest? Cecil, he just. I love this. After all Cecil is being really soft touch with Mark here. It's a really great scene, but the same token, though, the moment Mark leaves. Donald, he just killed it. He just murdered someone. Do you want my job that badly? Because he's right. It's like Cecil again. At the same time, he killed Rudy. He killed the whole reason he's there. He killed that guy. So he just murdered somebody. Yep. Why do? Fundamentally, Cecil, he can't blindly trust anyone. But that's ultimately, I think that's the arc. And again, I don't know how it's going to shake out by the end, but I want to say the arc is most likely deconstructing what trust means. Like, can Cecil and Mark genuinely trust each other again? Like, does that trust exist? What is trust in this universe?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Titan. Speaking of trust, we should talk about Titan.
Oh, this is such a good storyline, Dragon. I was really into this shit, which I still don't really like the dragon guy. Like, I think he's just kind of like a generic, like, I almost don't think he fits the world all that well, just as far as power sets. But I love Titan as a character, and I love the whole like underworld side of things. And obviously, Dragon, obviously, one of the things that that you got to convince me to watch the show in the first place, my boy Machine Head.
Yep.
So I was eating this stuff up, dude. I was eating this stuff up. I really was. And Titan, I mean, honestly, Dragon, I just think every time Titan has an episode, it just gets better and better. And it's almost kind of like this parallel, like he is clearly like the main protagonist of his own story, you know, and it's playing out almost like parallel to Mark's in a way.
Basically what Luke Cage season 3 could have been.
Essentially, yes, yeah, exactly. With the mob stuff, yeah, totally.
Yeah. But yeah, so I've always loved Titan. I love the concept Titan. I love the growth and the development on him. Where he started off as like he's literally the first. Again, he always has that history with Invincible. He was the first bad guy that Invincible stopped.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that I like that we didn't forget that Liu was still alive because that was the hang. Now, admittedly, I'm with you. I wasn't crazy about Liu still being alive just for the fact that can't we just be done with the guy already? He served his purpose. I think we're done. He's still alive, but then again, him still being alive though, it's. I just like given the cards that we've been dealt. I like how we
just as far as it is a very personal antagonist for Titan, and obviously the threatening the fate. Like, it doesn't really matter who's doing it. You just don't fuck with Titan's family. That's essentially what the arc is. That's what the arc boils down to.
Yeah. See, Colorblind Kyle loves Invincible.
Oh, God.
Yeah, but yeah, so I like that we
knows just how much we've mined that one line over the years.
I mean, he might have an idea. I don't know.
Is it fair to say that For My Family might be the Super Academy line we've gone back to the most? I think that's fair to say.
Oh yeah, no, that's accurate.
Oh God, so stupid. All right.
Well, we had the windmill line, but the windmill we kind of combined that with Chaz Fencer. So I don't know
the windmill kind of became I was the Willow. Yeah.
Who's going to help me be the windmill?
Oh God.
Like, anyway, so the point being, like, be it as it may with Leo, I like that he's still in play, given that we didn't just brush him under the rug, given we said that post-credit scene where he's still around because of the big henchman guy. So again, I like the arc between Titan and Machine Head, where Machine Head, they were against each other, then they kind of had their team up, and now it's like I think Machine Head. Mind you, by the end of the episode, we reveal he is playing his own angle here. But by the same token, I think Machine Head really does like Titan. He does respect how he kind of rose his way up and kind of outsmarted him and kind of like got one over on the boss man. And he just kind of grown to respect him. And I think his offer here genuinely is, look, come back to the order, and your family will, by definition, will be protected. I think he is trying to. He went from threatening his family to, come on, let me save your family.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of nice. I don't know.
I feel you.
So the action sequence, Magnetide is, I forget if it's Magnetide or Magnicide, like suicide, but this guy was awesome, wasn't he?
Yeah, totally.
It's like Bullseye meets Magneto. It's so cool. So, but with this guy, this is a great foreshadow to your moment, Tiki. Later on, it's a foreshadow of like the whole like stay away.
Exactly. Yeah.
Stay away from my family. He's yelling as he's punching
visually
the guy.
too. Like I said, visually with the armor.
Yeah, it's great.
A lot of foreshadow there.
All right, let's see. So again, there's not a whole lot beyond kind of like we'll get to the payoff to the Titan stuff. The other thing is we had the Flaxens. The Flaxens return. So. These guys, they were in the first season. We had like the awesome. We used the same song because it was kind of like a very. People really loved it when Omni-Man like rained terror and rained fire down on the Flaxen plant until they sent him home, which is still really funny. But I still love that. So we kind of have a lot of love for that because we have a lot of love for that, and I think we kind of reflect that here.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of basically, the Flaxens are kind of used like a full circle moment of season one just to measure everyone's progress on how we deal an alien invading threat like this. And, Brit's awesome. save the hostages from being enslaved. Butch he just jumps
He
down
is
there. He's like
very
taking
much in like
people.
full blown Captain America mode here for sure.
And I guess what if Jonathan Banks or Captain America? That's essentially what Brit is, and I think it's the
Okay.
coolest
Oh my.
thing ever.
No. Seriously, what if they brought back old man Steve Rogers and they recast him as Jonathan Banks? Fucking Marvel, are you listening?
Yep. Where's Jonathan Banks to do his own?
That will make me excited for Doomsday way more than just Chris Evans comes back and he randomly has a baby.
Jonathan Banks just.
Am I wrong, Dragon? Am I wrong?
Jonathan Banks walks up to him and says, "Cute kid, now stand aside."
Oh my god.
Or it goes like here's a Mylar balloon for the kid. Now stand aside.
But it's a balloon of the Captain America shield.
Yeah. Oh, ain't he cute? Look at the little prince.
Oh my god, hell yes. Hell yes.
Oh, okay, God. So something we should. So again, Rex, robot. He was almost enslaved by one of the Sequids, and this was nice. And again, this feeds into the whole Rex kind of coming around on the Invincible's way of thinking here. Because of his actions, he was infected by a Sequid, and thankfully Monster Girl killed it. But then he realizes, oh god, maybe Invincible was right. Maybe maybe I was wrong that we could have gotten it. Bulletproof could have gotten there in time per my calculations. Yada yada. Maybe we do need to take preventative measures.
Sure.
And that's another thing, too. I love that. So the aftermath of what Mark did, we kind of covered that with the Guardians of the Globe. And Bulletproof, he's on Mark's side. And I think that was great, and that's an important thing to file away. Bulletproof down the line, if they do it in the comic, Bulletproof is going to be very important. Mm-hmm. And giving him these little moments where, he's not begrudging Invincible, hey, why don't you just let me? I could have been fed. It's not an ego in Bulletproof. He's like, no, if I were in his position, I would have done the same thing because it's the force field is going to break in 4 seconds. What are you going to do? Mark doesn't know where the guy's going to be flying in from, if he's going to get there in time. He doesn't know.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a very relatable dilemma for sure. I don't think anyone really begrudges him about just a bad position to be in.
Which again is really refreshing in the writing. We're not doing a whole drawn out debate of oh, we can't trust that Invincible. You kind of feel it, but you don't.
Right. It's not it's not just evil Superman.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, so the Flaxons come back, and the whole thing of Monster Girl and Robot have to go through the portal to take down the antenna. Because in this case, hey, we're not going to leave it out in the open. Because the idea is the Flaxons, every time they come back, they get smarter and more hard to kill. So it's hey, we got to get the antenna, and they also have to save the hostages. And of course, in doing so, Robot and Monster Girl get sealed with the Flaxons, which means a lot of time is going to pass when they come back, which is going to be interesting for our 2 characters that have the youth challenge on their side. So I think chances are Monster Girl and Robot are probably going to be growing up when they get out of there.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
So just a lot of, like I said, Dragon, there's a lot of stuff being thrown on the table in these first 3 episodes. It's honestly kind of hard to keep track of it all. So one way that's exciting, and another way for me as someone who, my memory issues, it's not great. So there's a lot here. I'm a little overwhelmed by it all. I'm not quite as drawn into the full-blown narrative as I because you have to realize season 3, we had just a razor sharp the first 3 episodes of season 3 basically were just essentially Mark versus Cecil, Mark leading the Guardians and the fallout of that. And this is more so, and this is kind of spinning into my final thoughts, I guess. These episodes are all good individually for sure. It's just, it's a much more kind of broad spectrum of everything that's going on. And I'm not obviously there's there's a Viltrumite war and everything like that, and there's the character stuff that Mark's grappling with. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's just I'm going to be interested to see with the stakes as high as they are, just how many of these balls, these plot balls that they're juggling, they can actually manage to stick to landing with.
Yeah. Well, sorry, real quick, I just want to finish out the episode.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I thought we were more or less done. I didn't mean to.
Well, we had like two bits to talk about, and then we.
Okay, my bad. My bad.
Okay, so Titan. So again, the whole thing with Titan is that Titan has hired the services of Invincible Inc. Probably unknowingly, would be my guess. He basically hired what he thought was going to be Invincible, and ended up being Oliver. And Oliver, as he's down for the mission, of course, not really knowing. And again, this Titan probably left out some important details, would be my guess. And this gets into the interesting thing with Titan and Invincible's history, and why Invincible is so ticked off at Titan. Every time Invincible and Titan have crossed paths, Titan, kind of manipulates Invincible to doing his dirty work for him. And now he's doing it to Oliver. Because he left out key details. He probably didn't mention the whole, until, in the moment, oh yeah, we're going to fight this giant dragon guy. He probably has kept it very simple, or the fact of, this is why we're fighting the dragon guy. It's anyway. So we have our fight. Oliver, he's kind of struggling. He's in danger here. This thing almost killed Mark last time. And Invincible comes in, he kind of saves the day, and then he's royally pissed off at Titan, and there's a threat of him beating him to death here, which I did not want to happen because I love Titan. It's like, oh no.
I didn't think it was going to happen just because of Titan's power set, but still, there was. I mean, it was definitely on the table. If anyone could do it, it would be Mark, obviously.
I was hoping, please let Titan's powers protect him here. I don't want him to die.
Right.
But yeah, but here's a lot of people ask after the episodes, was this is the wonderful thing about this season that could get annoying. I don't know. I like it. It's just the idea people are asking the moral questions, the ethical questions here. Was Mark in the right? And obviously he was going a little far with it here, but Titan brought this beating on himself, because even his people around him said, I don't think the kid's going to fall for it again. It's like, you shouldn't you're involved Invincible. You're a little reckless with the details, because ultimately, even if he wasn't outright targeting Invincible's family, he is basically convinced while he's beating him up here, he did recklessly endanger the kid by giving him something, bigger than he could chew on,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It feels like Invincible. I feel Titan deserved this beatdown, but not to the extent that Invincible was doing it. And it's the irony of he's protecting his family but endangering another.
He really doesn't know the full context yet either.
No, he doesn't. That's the thing. So he's going blindly here. But again, it's the history that he has with Titan, where Titan is just he keeps doing this and almost killing him, but he's not going to let it happen to his brother. And what's interesting is that this goes back to the promise of the season, where if anyone endangers my family, which Titan incidentally has done here, instinctively do I kill this guy? Which again, this is where the slippery slope thing comes in. Mark is should be regretting these choices, but he's not quite there yet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just it's interesting. All right, so ultimately, so Machine Head, he reveals he basically got Titan back to the table, as well as Liu. So everyone's working for the Order again. And to me, this is the more just version of Titan getting a taste of his own medicine than Mark beating him to a pulp. This is well, Titan, you've been manipulated. I hope this is what it feels like. This is what you did to Invincible.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay, now our post-credit is important. Eve, she's pregnant.
Yeah, and I didn't even really realize that was no, I guess I don't know. I haven't really looked into the comic, so I'm assuming that happens in the comic, of course, right?
No, for sure. This is pulled right from the comic, and this is I was teasing you a little bit about it last season. So her powers malfunctioning goes hand in hand with the pregnant. That's why.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, they're going to get into it, but essentially, assuming they still do it, it's pretty much it's another being inside of her that needs to feed off atoms and energy and stuff. So she can't use her powers because the kid needs the kid needs the nutrients, kind of a thing.
Right, makes sense.
So anyway, so the point being, Eve is now this was interesting to me. I'm sorry, one more. She's really sad about the pregnancy based on this clip here.
Well, Jesus Christ, Dragon, okay, as someone who's I'm 35 years old at this point, it's if I'm going to have kids with someone, it's probably going to be someone my age. It's got to be soon. I don't want kids. I've decided on that. Not that I would, because the world is shit. I don't want to bring a kid into this world. that is what Eve is thinking times a
Mm-hmm.
fucking thousand, buddy. You
Yeah,
know
no,
what I
that's
mean?
what. No, I know. That's what I'm saying. So I like that you have. There's the obvious there. There's a whole. I'm not ready for this, but again, in addition to that, what I like is that with that Adam Eve special we had, Eve had a very complicated and tragic relationship with her birth mother. Again, like the woman who
Right,
gave birth
right,
to her
right.
died in the most horrible way possible. Not through childbirth, but by proxy of her powers and everything. So I feel bad for Eve. This is going to be interesting going forward.
I definitely think that the relationship stuff between Mark and Eve is better than it was in season 3. I think that was an improvement. Speaking of improvement, and this is the last note I probably have that I kind of
Okay.
forgot to bring up. The animation, Dragon, I don't know if it's just me, but from what I could tell, markedly better than season 3. Like markedly better. Like I like we're still getting some, some characters just sort of standing still in the background. That's fine, but I'm just saying, like, the actual fight scenes feel a lot more dynamic. I feel like the camera work is a lot more fluid just in general. I don't know. Did you pick up on that? Because I know that the animation was kind of a talking point last season.
Yeah, I mean, generally, the problem is Invincible. They have so much going on. There's a lot of stuff. We have some really impressive fight scenes, but beyond that, I don't know. It's just the fan base, but just in general, like the biggest criticism the show always, the biggest nitpick and/or criticism the show gets is like the animation snobs critiquing the animation or just saying like, "Oh man, the animation could be better." Like, why can't the whole show measure up to how cool the action sequences are? Why can't the posing be more dynamic? That kind of stuff. I mean, guys, that's what the style kind of is in the comic. And you have to, there has to be like realistically for the show to come out the way it is. That it's otherwise it's going to take even longer, and people are going to be belly aching about how long it takes. Like I think it's a happy medium that we have here. I'm satisfied with it. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
I mean, right now, here's right now the biggest criticism of the show. Well, not the sorry, right now a recurring critique people keep giving is like they always hold up like stills of like this is what the comic panel looks like. For example, Dinosaurus. Okay, Dinosaurus. They had to streamline his design so he could move in animation. Okay, it's a dinosaur. Scales, right? Like kind of scales and like the detailing on the skin. Okay, in comic, like Ryan Otley, well, David Crabtree, Ryan Otley, which both of them worked on. I think David Crabtree, a whole bunch of details. Okay, whole bunch of details on the skin. Again, people are like, "Why couldn't it look like that?" Well, because you can't animate that. A poor animator is going to blow his brains out if he has to animate
I
that.
mean,
Like every
I'm not
scale.
comparing it season. I'm not comparing it to the graphic novel. I'm just comparing it season to season. All I'm saying is that I think season 4 looks better than season 3. That's all
No,
I'm
no,
saying.
no. I know it's way. I'm just saying right now. It's kind of what the people are saying. Like so, like that. But yeah, no, I'm with you. Like, I look. I like the animation. I think they are putting a little extra effort into it. I think it has been going pretty well. I like it.
Okay. All right. Do you have any final thoughts?
Final thoughts is a good start. I can't wait for the rest of the season. I think we're in good shape. Again, maybe look, not every season can end with conquest. Let's be honest. Okay, we can't. The finales have been good. I really don't know what our finale's going to be this season. I imagine it's going to be something that's
I
going to end
definitely
with
think it's the least clear. I like as far as like adapting the comic. I think it's probably going to be the least clear out of any of them, right? Because I feel like obviously season 1 you're going to have that big conflict with Nolan. Season 2, I'm sure the Angstrom thing was, what it was all building towards from the get go, and then, season 3, you've got everything that goes down there. Yeah, I think you're right though. I think I don't know. Do you think it's the assault dragon,
the assault.
the 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 rape, the grape?
Oh no, it's not going to be this. No. That's a next season thing.
Okay, because
If they do it, I thought you meant like the
that's like one of the few big story points I know of that like would be like kind of almost like season finale worthy.
that was the other infamous moment in the comic, and that's a thing where no, they're not gonna. I would. I get. Look, I can't. I doubt we're gonna end it there, but I mean, in theory, based on the pregnancy thing, I mean, It's
It
possible.
could be a really dramatic place to end, man. I mean, it'd
That's
be
the
interesting.
thing.
The foundation for the characters, you know, it
I,
would.
I will give you this, Tiki. I didn't consider it, but you're right though. If we're not going to have our big knuckle down, drag out fight, basically, look,
Yeah,
the way I predicted the season could have won, based on what you're telling me, the season could have won two ways. Okay, just based on the little marketing I have seen for the season, there could be an attempt at a space battle against some Viltrumites that are coming to the Earth. Maybe like it won't be the big end all be all confrontation, but just a one that's on the way. Maybe like a failed attempt at it. Like kind of like think about Avatar: Last Airbender, like the Eclipse, right?
sure.
The Eclipse could be that. But if we don't do that, your way, I think, would be the way of doing it without actually having a big confrontation, but it would be an emotional confrontation.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Well, I guess that's about it then.
Mm-hmm.
I assume we're just getting one episode apiece from going forward, right?
That is correct, yes.
All right. Well, yeah, we will be back. I don't know if I'll be back. I think the best move would be to get kind of like a rotating panel for this if we can. But
Mm-hmm.
stay tuned until next week, folks, when we continue talking